Welcome back. I want to continue with the middle ground, and I want to give you, we want to look at 4 institutions where the middle ground can be practiced by the Indians and the French. Let's start with trade. Here we're going to move away from the Jesuits a bit and talk about French fur traders. Trade presents unique problems to both the Indians and the French. Let's say I'm a French fur trader. I meet with my Indian trading partner. It's January. It's very cold. I tell him, I say, I have 5 crates of European manufactured goods here. I have cloth, leather. I have firearms, whiskey. I have pots and pans. I have metal tools, knives and hatchets and shovels and hoes. And I tell my Indian trading partner, I'll trade you these 5 crates of European manufactured goods for that pallet of beaver pelts. Now the beaver pelt is highly prized, a very fine fur that can be shipped back to France and turned into coats, or at least collars and cuffs, for the aristocrats' clothing. And we can make a nice profit on this. So the Indian trading partner says yes, and we make the swap, and we're both happy. He gets 5 crates of stuff. I get a pallet of beaver pelts. It's January. It's cold. Now it's August, and it's hot. And I approach my Indian trading partner, and I say, I'll give you 1 crate of stuff for that pallet of beaver pelts. And my Indian trading partner says, why are you trying to cheat me? I thought we had a relationship. I thought we were friends, but you're trying to take advantage. And I say, no, I'm not trying to take advantage. It's August. It's hot. There isn't the demand for beaver pelts this time of year as there was in January. And then the Indian says, but wait a minute. These beaver pelts, I'm giving you the same number and of the same quality, and yet you're offering me less in return. So clearly you're trying to deceive me and take advantage of me. And I'm like, no. There simply isn't the demand for the beaver pelts. You can see the 2 sides butting heads here because they don't assign value in the same way. The French depend upon the market to assign value, just like we do. If you'll notice, driving down the street after class or after work, you'll see that the price of gas today is different than what it was yesterday. Again, the market, supply, demand, determining value. The Indians discard this and say, no, the beaver pelts have an inherent value that does not change. So you can see how this creates problems. The Indians often believe they're being taken advantage of, so they break into French stores and steal provisions to try to balance out what they perceive as an unequal trading relationship. Of course, to the French, this simply looks like theft. So finally, the French decide that in order to continue this trading relationship with the Indians, we're going to have to solve this problem. So the French begin to leave out a certain percentage of stuff for the Indians to simply take. It's like a tip or a gratuity. Now the Indians believe that they have balanced out this unequal trading relationship. And this is the middle ground in action, trying to figure out the other side, trying to accommodate and compromise. Now, the institution of justice, we see this at work also in the middle ground. Let's say I'm trading with my Indian partner. He gets so angry with me that he whacks me over the head and kills me. He thinks I'm trying to cheat him. Well, the French administration is going to want to arrest and try, and if convicted, probably hang this Indian. Flip it around. What if I get so angry that I kill my Indian trading partner? The Indians may respond by demanding blood revenge. They may kill me or members of my family. But there's a possibility that the Indians will demand something quite different and something that the Europeans have a hard time getting their heads around. We call this covering the dead. In other words, the Indians will approach us and say, okay, you've killed our husband, our father, our brother, our uncle, whoever. We would like for you to cover the dead. In other words, give us one of yours to take the place of the one you've killed. Of course, in Western society, we put so much emphasis on the individual that it's very difficult for Europeans to sort of grapple with this idea You have to admit, though, that at least theoretically, this might be a method to stop the endless sort of series of blood revenge and violence that goes on in the world. Instead of taking revenge each time, what if we covered the dead and put those resentments to rest? Of course, in Western society, the French depend upon sort of impartial, faceless, nameless bureaucracy to take care of justice. The Indians believe this is a little weird. One of ours has been killed, and you're telling me that we're not supposed to get involved in the investigation, the apprehension, and punishment of the criminal? So you can see the two sides, sort of butting heads here on how justice is to be administered. And of course, the middle ground is essential to try to create compromise and accommodation between the two sides. I'm going to mention sex briefly. We talked about it in our last lecture with the Jesuit priest admonishing the Indians for their sex lives. I'll say here that the French are quite good at creating a sort of an intermingled society of French and Indians. They marry Indian women. They have French and Indian families. You don't see the English doing this very much. You don't see the Spanish doing it. The French are much better at creating a society of Europeans and Indians. The English, generally, all they want from the Indians is their absence or their land, and tend to keep them more at arm's reach. So the French mitigate some of the difficulties here in the middle ground by forming French and Indian societies. And then finally, our fourth institution is war. The two sides don't fight the same, do they? And you all sort of know this instinctively, probably from movies and even playing army as kids. I remember when I was a kid, we always wanted to be the Indians because we get to climb trees and hide and ambush and attack the enemy where he least expects us. Europeans don't fight that way. Europeans, with their gunpowder weapons, want to get into a big open field where they can bring these firearms to bear at their maximum lethality. European infantrymen armed with their muskets march where commanded, take aim and fire when commanded by their officers. And again, you're in a wide open field, taking fire from the enemy at the same time. You've seen two lines of infantry exchanging volleys, as they call it. The Indians regard this as crazy. The Indian says, wait, you want me to stand in an open field while 1,000 of your guys shoot at me and I have no cover? That's nuts. The Indian attitude is that I'll kill you where I find you. I'll burn your house down in the middle of the night. I'll poison your well. I'll cut your throat while you're sleeping. But I'm not going to stand in an open field and let you shoot at me without cover. So you can see the two sides have very different ideas of how to fight. You see an example of this during the French and Indian War. George Washington was a captain in the British Army, and he had a contingent of troops, Virginians and some Indians. And he encounters near, I think, modern-day Pittsburgh, he encounters a group of the enemy, French and their Indian allies. And there's a battle there, and Washington wins, and he has the French and their Indian allies as POWs. And then he's horrified to find out that his own Indian allies have gone in and scalped and killed the POWs. Washington regards this as dishonorable conduct. The Indians regard it as trophies for their military exploits. So you see there's very different traditions at work here. But you can see that both sides learn from each other. The Indians will learn a bit more about supply and chain of command. The Americans will learn more about guerrilla tactics, surprise, ambush, these type of things. So let me finish by saying that these four examples gives us an insight into how the middle ground works between the Europeans on the one hand and the Indians on the other. So I'm going to stop there, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you.